This is the Sales Gravy Podcast, and this is Wisdom Wednesday where you drive the agenda. Because on this segment of the Sales Gravy Podcast, you bring your biggest sales challenges and Jeb Blount delivers his best answers. And those answers, they come straight from the trenches because Jeb's not just teaching sales, he's out there prospecting, closing, and leading sales teams every single day. Before we jump in, I want to let you know about our upcoming release of The LinkedIn Edge. Jeb wrote this book with Bryn Tillman. It's an incredible book that you need to have in your library right now. The LinkedIn Edge is going to be released on October 6th on Amazon and anywhere that you buy books. All right, let's take our next caller. Up next is Kayla Lujan.
All right. Next up on the show is Kayla Lujan from Orlando, Florida, a VP in sales who has been recently stalking me on LinkedIn because I see you everywhere. I don't think you're stalking me, but I see you everywhere. So, what's going on, Kayla?
Hi, Jeb. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I am the VP of Sales at Earth Landscape Irrigation based here in Orlando, Florida. I've been in my role for, almost a year, give or take. So I'm definitely still learning. And my question for you today, I'm managing teams that have defined territory lines. However, there really tends to be some crossover with relationships or past history on opportunities. And as we get into our busy bid season, I've really seen the team kind of lose focus on working as one or team selling and more of kind of like a what's mine versus working together. So as a sales leader, how can we tackle challenges like this while maintaining that good, strong sales culture?
Oh, the age-old question. How do I get these lone wolves to treat each other like a team?
That's right.
Yeah, if I had the answer to this, by the way, I'd be living on an island off in the Caribbean all by myself because I have the same problem in my own team. We get territorial. We work with people on how we can split commissions, and it still gets territorial because salespeople, by their nature, want to win. And I remember I'll go back to my days when I was a vice president of sales, and just to give you an idea of how important the winning part is we had this split between local account executives and regional account executives. And the problem is that those territories would overlap. And in a lot of cases, there'd be a big regional account sitting in someone's local territory. Well, the local sales reps wanted to keep it all to themselves. They didn't want to tell anybody about it. They would work around the system. They would get in the back door. The problem with that is you'd lose some really big deals because you had a person who didn't have the talent, skill, or experience level working on a big deal. And we would find out it after the fact. And of course, the regional account executive would be really, really mad. Or they would close the business. And now we have the conundrum of, hey, this person just closed the business. And the regional account executive saying, no, that's mine. I get the commission on that. And you're like, well, you didn't even work on it. So what we did was we basically set up a split. The split was this. You can choose either money or credit. So in other words, you get the commission for it, or you can get the credit on the ranking report for it. Now, this is what was shocking about this experiment. When people have the choice between money and credit, they fought over credit. They fought over, did I actually close the deal? You think how ridiculous that is. You earned 100% of the commission. You're walking away with a big old check, but you will fight to the death over, did I get credit for it? And that just tells us a lot about incentives. It tells us a lot about the mindset of salespeople and the conundrum that you're dealing with, which is I've got relationships and territories that overlap. How do we all work together? And I don't have an answer for that question because it really does come down to what's going to be unique for your business. It's going to be something that you're going to have to work through all the unintended consequences of every little lever that you pull to try to get people to work together. The easiest solution that we have in our business is split commissions. When two people are working on a deal, in a lot of cases, we need people working on a deal. And we have a saying in our company, we win as a team. We say it over and over and over again. The fist fights ensue, but we say it and we keep saying it because I think in leadership, sometimes you just got to repeat yourself and repeat yourself and repeat yourself until you're blue in the face. And then you get up and you repeat yourself some more. We win as a team, and we reward that through praise, through telling people they did a good job, and through recognition. But it still doesn't take away the pain of who gets what in the deal. And the only way that we know how to do this in our world, because there's just no two projects, there's no two trainings, there's no two clients that are exactly alike, is we force the two parties that are working on a deal or the three parties working on a deal to have a conversation up front and come to an agreement on what that split's going to be before it ever hits the commission sheet.
Yep.
And you probably experienced that you have fights after the fact. Those are a whole lot harder to clean up than a fight before the fact. So one suggestion for you, if you're having issues like that, is you force your party, the parties involved, to come up with a solution on their own, or you're going to play King Solomon and you're going to create the solution and nobody's going to be happy. That, again, goes back to repeat, repeat, repeat. Real quickly on the territories and the overlaps, can you help me understand, like specifically from a context standpoint, what you're dealing with? Give me a specific example.
Yeah, so here in Central Florida in the Orlando area, I actually have 5 sellers. I mean, it is a large territory, a large market. The specific challenge is so we sell a lot to HOAs, homeowner associations, and that main POC that we're working with, that manager, typically manages properties across all of Central Florida. So it overlaps with multiple reps, and that's where I kind of get that fighting internally of, well, that's my manager, even though that manager may have something outside of that specific seller's territory.
Okay, good. So this, at one point in my life, I ran national accounts for a Fortune 200 company. It was a great job. We had the same problem. Like, you have a national account, they've got a national headquarters, but they got locations all over the place, and those locations are overlapping into other territories. The way that we work through that is we would assign the headquarters to the rep that had the relationship. So you've got a relationship, you're managing this account out. The account's going to cross into different territories, but you've got the core relationship. Your primary role is to retain that account. And if you don't retain that account, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And that's what we pay you for. So you get paid for retaining the account and expanding the relationship. That makes a lot of sense where you've got one POC who's running multiple properties in an HOA, and those relationships are going to be super important for retaining those accounts over time. The problem is that one person who's running that headquarters, they can't be all the places all the time. So you need your local reps that are in those territories to go out and reach into those communities where there may be another contact locally on site at the clubhouse or the community center or what have you, and have that relationship with them about all the little things that are happening every single day. So the way that we would compensate that is that we would pay direct commissions, and however you compensate, bonuses or what have you, to those individuals for the actual work they were doing locally for new projects or new opportunities. We wouldn't be paying them a commission for, say, an ongoing contract that was signed at the central level, right? So that we signed a contract, and let's say you have an ongoing maintenance contract for landscaping or for irrigation with those homeowners associations, but we would pay that individual for going out there, building a relationship, and picking up all those spot projects. I saw one this morning in my community where we have a pretty militant homeowners association. I saw the local landscape company that works with them working on a specific project that seems like it was brand new, that wasn't part of the normal irrigation. And I'm sure you probably have things like that where you're selling little things all along. In that case, the local rep gets some compensation and reward for having relationships at those locations with the people on site, the groundskeepers, facility managers, what have you, that are driving that. They get paid for picking up new things. And if there's a contract tied directly to that community, they get paid to be part of the renewal process with that. And the person who has the headquarters, they get compensated for retaining and expanding that account and working with the other reps. So you got to look at it as a pool of commission, because you can't double pay people, right? So I'm sure that their CEO would probably have a conniption over this, but you just create a pool and say, this is how much commission there would be anyway. And this is how we're going to split that commission up based on your role. You want to make sure that the person who has the headquarters is incented to work with the other people to go out and build it out, because they get a piece of the action for all the expansion. And the local people have an incentive to work with the headquarters rep, because the headquarters rep, when they need to get something through, is going to have the relationship to be able to get contracts through or get projects approved or get POs approved, get payment approved, that type of thing. And it has to work as an ecosystem. And the only way to do that is headquarter rep, local reps, commission pool, and then everybody gets a piece of the pie. And that pie, by the way, could be, going back to my old days, it could be credit versus commission, depending on how your people want to work. With only 5 people, the credit thing is probably not nearly as important as it is in an organization. We have 1,000 salespeople, and everybody is jockeying to get on the top tier and go to President's Club. Does that make sense, or did I miss anything in this?
No, that makes perfect sense.
That's what I would think about doing. As a new VP, I'm just curious before we take off, what are some of the other things that you struggle with? And that might actually be good for some of the listeners here who are thinking about, how do I get promoted, or how do I get a job like Kayla's? What are some things that maybe surprised you as you moved into this role that you weren't expecting?
That there's no training. Right, I went from being a direct seller many years ago into a regional role. I was a regional for 3 years, and, the only thing that changed was my individual sales goal went away, and then I had a team goal, right? There was, like, no clear onboarding process, and then the same thing, happened when I went into the VP role, and I think, one of my biggest challenges, now is I'm still managing a group of direct sellers. So I have 6 direct reports, but then I also have a South region where the regional who replaced me, is managing 9 people. So I guess I'd love your advice on what, like, mindset shifts or habits do I need to adopt now as a VP to lead effectively at this level that I'm at now?
I love your conundrum and your predicament, because you are trying to live in 2 different places at the same time. It's really no different than salespeople who try to sell and lead at the same time. There are days when I'm sure that you feel almost schizophrenic as you start working through the processes. There's a couple of things that I would say to you is, one, uh, make sure that you understand that you are now in the executive suite, and that as you were growing up through your career and you got to be VP of sales, all the way through your career, you advance because you're really good at getting things done. Like, you're great at selling, you're great at knocking things out. I guarantee you, and maybe I'm wrong, but I see you shaking your head. When the boss came to you and said, "Hey, we need something done, we need somebody to work on this project," you go, I'll take it, right? Exactly. So your entire role was getting things done. Now you're in a world where, when you're playing the role of VP of sales, you're in a get things done through other people. And you're usually getting things done through other people that are a couple of layers below you. So now you're in a role where you're setting more vision for where you want to go, and you're thinking strategically, and you're thinking about, how does this connect into the bigger business plan? The first time I was in a role like yours, I think the biggest mistake that I made was, I felt like my entire world was go sell and go grow the business. And I was dedicated to that. I was driven for it. But I didn't understand that there was a link between me and the rest of the business. And that link was, there are operations managers, there's a CEO, there's a COO, there's a CFO. All of these people are running P&Ls, and they're trying to grow the business as well. And I needed to be a part of those conversations versus the guy that's coming in out of the field holding a trophy up, right? That I went out and shot and said, "Look, everybody, look how great we are. We're killing everything." And that was disconnected from the greater conversation. I had this conversation just recently with a sales leader I was playing golf with, and he may even be listening to this, but he's got this drive. He grew up doing things. He's the greatest salesperson in the world, but he got disconnected from the leadership group because he's out in the field making things happen. You want to make sure that you're scheduling quality time to spend with your operating managers, your CEO, your CFO, your COO. You want to make sure that you are thinking strategically, how does what am I doing connecting with the purpose of the business, the objective of the business plan. You want to make sure that you clearly understand the P&L and L and how decisions are made. Then at the same time, you've got to be an umbrella for the sales team, right? You've got to protect them, because nobody on the leadership team, if they're in operations, has a clue how to sell, although all of them have an opinion about what you do, and they all think it's a lot easier than it really is. So building those relationships and creating that coalition and being part of that leadership group is a crucial part of your long-term growth as you continue to move through the organization or another organization, which I'm clear that you're going to be able to do. I mean, you've got everything that it takes and all the talent that it takes to do that, but don't lose sight of, you've moved into a different role, and you do need to step in both places at the same time. But I would say that's what the biggest mistake I see with new VPs is, they either go too strategic and they leave the tactical, or they are all tactical and no strategic, and they don't get a good balance in there that allows them to create great relationships and coalitions inside the organization. So long term, they're able to accomplish their objectives.
Yeah, that's great advice. I tend to be automatically tactical because that's what I've always been. So I got to work on that balance a little bit and make it more even. So that's great advice. Thank you.
You know, if we were going to pick a person that we were going to hire, a person who gets stuff done or a person who thinks about getting stuff done, we're going to go for the person who gets stuff done because you can learn how to think about getting stuff done. But if all you do is think and not do, that's a bigger problem. How familiar are you with Mike Weinberg?
Oh my gosh, so familiar. I got all your books and his books right next to each other on my bookshelf.
Okay,
Yes.
very good. So have you been to one of his events?
I haven't, no.
Okay, so one of the things I would suggest is go to Weinberg's website and sign up to one of his events. They have them up in Atlanta, and they're one-day events, and it's all focused around sales leadership. And I think that would be a really good opportunity for you. And also, and folks, everybody who's listening and watching, this is a gratuitous plug. But Kayla set me up for this. The Outbound Conference is coming up in 2026. We'll be announcing the location. We signed all the contracts and everything. So we're announcing the location in a couple of weeks. But we will have one day of that conference that's going to be an Outbound Leadership Summit. And it's built for people like you. So it's built for executive sales leaders who are coming in. And we're going to have some of the top speakers and minds in sales leadership. And we're going to bring everybody together in that space. So great for your salespeople and great for leaders. And it's the first time we've ever done a pure leadership summit. But I think that's going to be something that you're going to want to put on your long-term plan. That'll be November 2026. But you'll want to put that on your long-term plan as something that you'll use to then move up to an even further level in sales leadership.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Kayla. It's good to see you. Have a good one. Bye.
If you've got a question for the show, go to salesgravy.com/ask. That's salesgravy.com/ask and submit your form. Let's wrap this thing up with a final thought. Kayla's challenge is the classic territory overlap versus team selling dilemma. Here's the play that works in the real world. Assign a headquarters owner, empower local territory partners, and split rewards by role up front. Put it in writing before the work begins. Create a commission pool tied to the total value of the relationship. The HQ owner is paid to retain and expand the account, and the locals are paid to surface projects, handle site-level relationships, and drive renewals. Build the habit of pre-commitment agreements. If multiple sellers touch a deal, they negotiate the split before it hits payroll. Then reinforce the culture with a simple drumbeat. We win as a team. Recognize shared wins publicly, measure cooperation, not just bookings, and hold everyone accountable to the standard. When roles are clear, incentives are aligned, and expectations are agreed to in advance, turf wars fade and revenue always grows. And remember, when you're tired, you're hungry, and you're ready to go home, always make one more call. This is Jeb Blount Jr., and we'll catch you next time on the Sales Gravy Podcast.
Hey, I'm doing a happy dance because you watched this video. Make sure that you click like and subscribe so that you never miss one of our amazing sales training videos.